This is the 6th episode of our Taiwan-Japan series and also the finale. In the previous episodes, we talked about how TSMC's investment and construction of GESM in Kumamoto went so smoothly, as well as how Japan's semiconductor manufacturer Rapidus is speeding up construction in Hokkaido, which raises an interesting question. Will the cooperation between Taiwanese and Japanese chip industries become closer and closer in the future? Is it possible for the two countries to form a tight semiconductor ecosystem?
Well, I anticipate a lot. I mean, there are a lot of opportunities for Japan and Taiwan to cooperate and being prosperous together.
像这一次半导体也是双赢了，因为你台积电来，带动了他们这个材料工业这供应商的景气嘛，你一造的一间工厂啊，大概要5000多亿、6000亿是用在这个买材料上面。
台湾跟日本在这个生产供应链上面本来就是上下游，所以本来就是存在一个非常紧密的合作关系。企业海外投资会需要一个磨合期。虽然说台日之间也多多少少会存在一些想法不一样的地方，但是毕竟大致上来讲，整体的文化是比较接近的，所以在这个磨合所需要花的这个成本应该就是比较低。
我来自台湾的宜兰，那它是一个比较乡下的环境，所以我觉得跟熊本的自然环境其实蛮接近的，所以来到这边生活，其实我很快速就可以适应。我相信大多数的台湾人来到这边生活，日常起居的采买的部分应该会蛮适应的。
Assuming that in the future, Taiwan and Japan's chip industries will truly integrate and form a so-called ecosystem, the leading institutions on both sides would undoubtedly be TSMC and Rapidus. They both belong to the front-end wafer fabrication part of the supply chain, and they can drive other sub-industries, both upstream and downstream.
台日之间在半导体未来进一步可能的合作领域，其实是 IC 设计。日本国内在 IC 设计这块是相对比较弱的，可是未来的无论是 AI 也罢，自驾车也罢，或是电动车也罢，各个不同的系统，它其实会大量用到 IC 设计的能力。台湾的 IC 设计在全世界上面算是排在蛮前面的位置。这时候，台湾的 IC 设计跟日本的晶片制造或者日本的系统能力结合，可能可以主导或者部分主导未来整个的 AI 系统的发展。这也是最近日本已经慢慢从车用晶片转向 AI 晶片的一种趋势之下必然发展的道路。
Last year, we started to support the generative AI ecosystem, establishment in Japan, which can, cause a positive impact to give birth to the new demand for the more advanced area of logic. And also, at the end of last year, Japanese three major car makers established kind of a partnership to promote the design capability enhancement of SoC.
你要设计产业能够发展，你必须旁边要有一个生产制造能力非常强的一个企业在附近，随时提供你支援，随时提供你咨询，这样子一来一回的做修改，甚至做指导，才能够去达成在 Plus 企业的一个成长跟茁壮。那现在台积电它已经到熊本这边来了，所以他们目前把九州称为新生的细岛，所以也是期待这个地区能够把他们的设计产业给带起来。
So it's quite important to shrink the size.
Professor Hadaichi Kanaya of Kyushu University is an example. He specializes in IC design. Previously, all the advanced chips he designed had to be sent to TSMC in Taiwan for tape-out, which was a very time-consuming process. After the establishment of GESM in Kumamoto, he is happy that now his designs could be turned into products locally. On the other hand, Taiwan's booming wafer manufacturing industry has also attracted many Japanese third-party suppliers to Taiwan.
There are some wafer companies or material companies, or machinery companies, because if TSMC expand their production capacity in Taiwan, there is necessity to secure the procurement capability in Taiwan as well. So that's very natural. So that's why there is increasing demand, increasing trend for Japanese companies to go to Taiwan.
十分期待できるところだろうと思っているんですね。弊社も台中と台南に2つの会社がありますけれども、そこをもっと発展させていくためには他のこともやらないといけないので、台湾で物を作るという、台湾で物を作るというふうなことにはすごく興味がありますので、アメリカオレゴン州には工場もありますけれど、そういうふうなものを台湾で作っていきたいと。弊社も台湾企業と弊社と合弁で会社を作ることも、そういうお話もですね、熊本県も日本も TSMC がここに来たおかげでやっぱビッグチャンスなんですね。100年に一度と言われてはいい。
And now, Japanese machinery companies, material companies are, of course, willing to increase their investment in Taiwan more in accordance with TSMC's investment in Taiwan. We want TSMC's capability, but at the same time, if TSMC wants to expand their own capability in Taiwan, we want to support them in order to kind of pushing Japanese companies to go to Taiwan more, because such win-win situation that we want to build with Taiwan. So just having a capacity from Taiwan is not fair, honestly.
It seems that many people are optimistic that Taiwan and Japan semiconductor industry will form a semiconductor ecosystem in the future. However, some people believe that there could be no true cooperation between Taiwan and Japan at all. Well, this could be a big issue. Without the cooperation, the foundation of forming an ecosystem would not exist.
而且实际上，台湾的生产业本来就已经在从日本购买这些东西，应该说是买卖关系啦，那个实际上也没有太多的合作关系，就完全是供需关系啦。那这个关系一直存在，那在半导体业界本来就已经存在的事实了，
Whether it's cooperative relationship or mere business relationship, the two most eye-catching wafer manufacturing companies in the sense would be undoubtedly be Japan's Rapidus and Taiwan's TSMC, which are both nation-supported enterprises. For now, it seems that the path of Rapidus' technological development is based on the leading company TSMC. As for the future, would it be any different?
TSMC is not making a factory in Kumamoto. They are making the research lab in Tsukuba, and they are working with the AIST. This is the new 3D packaging for the higher performing semiconductor, and this 3D packaging is giving a hint for the Rapidus activities.
TSMC が日本に来るのは新しい技術の芽がそこから日本から育っていくということを感じているから来るんですと。まず第一にソニーのイメージセンサーとロジック半導体で組むということはいわば一種のチップレットの技術でイメージセンサーがスマート化していくというその新しい可能性にいわばチャレンジしているからで。
Sony 的自己产能，它全都是集中在 CIS 上面，然后 processor shrinking 就变 advanced 来讲的话，日本早期就停掉了哈，所以他们在90 nano 就已经几乎没有什么产能了。作为 logic 的 shrinking 是台湾非常强。那所以呢，这两个叠在一起的这种用法，这个在 Sony 来讲是非常合理的。那台积有很大的这种产能，然后再加上它有技术，当然两个贴在一起是非常好的合作。可是可以看得到，这叫做供需关系。
第二阶段 Rapidus 日本的国家队半导体国家队高声的喊说我要做2奈米，我觉得他在2025年是不可能达到这个地步的。但是为什么要做这件事情？因为日本政府来讲，它的第3步骤才是它的重点，也就发展所谓的下一个世代所谓的光半导体。所以对日本政府来讲， 未来的世界需要的不是现在的半导体，而是光半导体。日本政府的第3阶段，它就是要制定光半导体的一个标准，它想要当光半导体的龙头，这才是它真正的一个目的。外表来讲，他们还是告诉大家说 ，Rapidus 一定要完成2奈米。
仍然是有3个阶段，但是我们观察到了第1个阶段的实质内容已经
在做转变了。
Besides being mutually dependent and complementary, what are the geopolitical factors that could lead to close integration of semiconductor industries in Taiwan and Japan?
台日的互动过去以来都适用我们所谓的政经分离啦，就是经贸互动非常的密切，可是政治上面互动非常非常冷淡。可是呢，在经济安全保障的架构之下，政经分离是不可行。从半导体投资案来看，就是不可行。你一个半导体投资案如果没有政治的支持或政治的要求，它不会这么快，不会这么样的顺利。所以呢，以后的台日互动将会变成政经合一。那我们也看到过去1年有多少日本重要政治人物陆续来台湾。以前呢，即便来也偷偷来，现在是来的时候，唯恐大家不知道，还要开记者会，所以这个是完全不一样的状况。
我们虽然是没有外交关系，但我们在地方政府的关系是非常好的。日本有170个自治团体跟我们有友好或是说MOU 的协议，所以地方政府他们也很积极。那这一方面也不会受什么没有邦交的影响，因为日本是个民主社会，民主社会是以民意为优先。那么地方支持，地方政府支持，地方议员支持，这个中央你很难是反对。
Well, I might have asked this question before, but given the potential formation of a chip ecosystem between Taiwan and Japan, it must be asked again. How will Rapidus and the TSMC coexist in the future?
Rapidus and TSMC are competing, but not as an enemy, but it's a sort of friendly competition. Because the demand for the 2 nano and the beyond 2 nanometer semiconductor is expanding. And TSMC is the only company which are capable of making such high-end chips. So the demand is so huge, but the supply is limited. And the Rapidus is trying to take advantage of that and try to, provide as an alternative provider.
Rapidus はシングルナノ、しかもハイエンドシングル2ナノ、それから 1.4 ナノに急速に追いつくためのトレーニングを最先端のチーム、国際チームで今訓練中です。将来はNTT の光技術と組んで光電融合の半導体とか、あるいは生成 AI の AI 半導体にチャレンジをしていきます。AI が世界を生成 AI が世界を席巻する状態になるし、データセンターは今のそれこそ100倍以上に伸びていきます。そうするとハイエンド部分の半導体や TSMC 一社で全てカバーするっていうことは物理的に不可能ですし、このリスクがありすぎます。ですから量は別としてこれを作れるファウンドリーが必ず必要になってきます。
但是如果他们能够在2奈米的这一个阶段成功的话，他们设定的是少量多样化的一个生产，他们并不想要直接跟台积电做竞争。那总是会有一些企业，他们可能需求量比较小一点，他们试着去满足这些企业的需求。
少量多样。
对，少量多样。
所谓的这个 Rapidus 的这个计划，它完全也是设法在做 advanced technology， 那跟台积所谋的将来是一样的东西。那通常来讲，这个就很难所谓的合作关系。你看，三星也有 advanced， 当初 Intel 它也是想做 advanced 来进入那个foundry 这行业，大家都是 competitor， 没有人是合作关系，这是常态。
If Taiwan and Japan's chip industries were to truly form an ecosystem, leveraging Japan's existing material and equipment advantages, together with Taiwan's manufacturing power, and achieving the step 3 in Japan's chip industry revival strategy, mass producing next generation photonic chips, ultimately restoring Japan's semiconductor glory of the last century. Would it be a good thing? Well, it depends on whose stand you're taking in this evolving situation, the US, the EU, South Korea, or China? From a geopolitical standpoint, if it benefits the development and the survival of your country, it will be a good thing. Otherwise, not so much. Then the next question is, do you have the ability to fulfill your ambitions or prevent others' ambition from happening? The Taiwan-Japan series comes to an end here. Next week, we'll be launching the Cross-Strait series, also consisting of 6 episodes. If you enjoy our program, please like and hit that subscribe button. See you next time on the Cross-Strait series. Bye-bye.